don't have to go anywhere because this is the Talk Beat Jones.
Hey, and we are back with attorney.
Odie Yuddy back.
Nice to have you. Now, I need you to give us, we're going to be educated in some art. And this art is absolutely gorgeous. And I need you to give us some background.
Oh, will do. All right. So, Michelle, again, I'm Odie Yuddy back. I'm an attorney. I'm someone who was educated down in New Orleans at Dillard University. I had opportunity to light a lot of things that are not commonly available to a lot of black community, and that's the artist. And so she brought to our attention that we can be artists. We can manifest some of our thoughts and ideas on canvas, marble, wood, etc. So she brought to our attention a couple of names. Samela Lewis. She's like the first black woman who cataloged the great black artists of the 20th century and beyond. And what happens is those books, her research, established a lot of the black studies in art across the university. I mean, across the universe of education. So if you went to UCLA, they'll probably have her book. And then everybody would stair step and build on her research.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we had a professor called Elizabeth Catlett. She was a Howard grad, and she was welcomed at Dillard University to teach. Now, she's world-renowned. She's right there with Pablo Picasso and Juan Miro and all those sort of individuals. We don't really necessarily know it in our black community because what? We're paying our rent. We're paying our car notes. We really don't have this extra money to invest, so we think. So if you were to buy or bought some of these early black Harlem Renaissance artists or artists who worked at some of the HBCUs around the country, you probably would have paid $200, $300. Now they're $35,000, $100,000. Some have even hung in the White House. Now we have other black artists. Basquiat, his cost $220 million. So now you understand why I'm excited to be here. I'm glad I accepted the invitation again with Billy Jones.
Yes.
Because there are people who learn differently.
Right.
So I could read and write, no problem. But some people have to receive things vis-a-vis auditory,
Right.
right?
Visual.
And some
visual
are visual.
learners, yes.
Okay? And so I must have been a little bit of all the above, right? So my dad was a doctor. He went to Dillard also, along with my mom. But he always thought he could have been a better student if he knew how to diagram and illustrate what was put before him to really ingrain it in his memory. Because to be a doctor or a professional, you have to exercise your memory.
Right. Like drawing the heart and all the valves that are inside, or a lung, or the rib cage. My daughter's a doctor, too.
Exactly.
So I know what you're talking
Right.
about.
And so I didn't go that route. However, I never had a problem imagining things. Like when you were talking earlier in the day, I could see you working in the city councilwoman's office. I can see you going out to the sites and giving people pamphlets and different things and disseminating this information. So what do we get back to the art? You got diagrams in those pamphlets.
Right.
Somebody got paid to do that.
That's right.
So you're asking about, a little bit about art and career. Well, Walt Disney made $1 billion off of it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But so too the printers. You bring them an idea, they start putting these icons together, and next thing you know, you have a piece of memorabilia, and it'll trigger your memory to do something that you want to do.
And comic books are art, too.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
We're not even talking about comic books because that serializes a one concept, one picture, one character, and moves it along. Not like a motion picture, but like a little novel. So over here, I have one of my pieces, and this is Martin Luther King being arrested by some Southern white police officers. Right? Now, this is in a primitive fashion. right? But what it does is it communicates, just like a cave, the cave paintings, just makes it really simple and direct. He is getting manhandled. He has a suit on, hat on, and they're treating him like a common thief.
Right.
And he's a minister. So what happens is, without me putting in too many words, you can glean from the picture something unfortunate is happening to this gentleman. And that is, unfortunately, the history of our forefathers not that long ago. Okay? So that's Martin Luther King and these officers who were housed. And that's the government and a citizen. So that's how the relationship was at that time.
Right. And they look angry. The police do. And he looks like, oh my God, why are you doing this to me?
Right. And so when I was at Dillard, one of my classmates was the daughter of O'Neill Moore. Now you're talking about politics. He was the first elected black sheriff in Louisiana, and they murdered him.
Yes.
And I was with my classmate, and I didn't know she lost her father to a lynching, so to speak. And so it just impressed me that much more. You got to get out of this school with everything they can offer you. So I heard you talking about WC3. I graduated from Highland Park High School in '82. My mom taught at the Highland Park Community College. Okay, so this is not a one-time thing you do and you rescue your family from poverty. It's successive. And
Over
you can
years.
it's over years, and it's not an overnight thing. You got to work on it.
Right.
So I have a picture here of 3 generations of Whitmores. They asked me, Miss Lisa Whitmore asked me to put all 3 of the matriarchs of the family on one picture. So one might be from 1927, one might be from the 50s, and then we have one picture from his contemporary.
Now,
Okay?
tell us,
Yeah.
what is the importance of the 3 women? Those are 3 generations.
This is 3 generations, and it kind of segues in what I was just saying. The most modern of the women on the your right, I guess you're the left
she
on the
in
screen,
green?
right in the green. Her daughter just got 2 doctorates from Carnegie Mellon in science. So we know once upon a time it was illegal to teach black people how to read. And then we fast forward within like a generation and a half, someone getting the highest, most difficult degrees offered in the United States, and if not in the world.
And successful.
Okay? And so they thought it was good to commemorate all of this history and simplify it. Right?
Yes. Yes.
And these are, again, these are black people who wouldn't say no. They're from the other side of the state. And we forget that there's blacks in Grand Rapids and Benton Harbor and Kalamazoo. And I hope they get to see this because Flint, Saginaw.
Saginaw.
And when we talk about HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, sometimes they deliberately don't get the message.
Right.
They don't get the offer, hey, you can also try one of these schools.
Right.
Okay? Because HBCUs have law schools, 1 or 2 might have med schools.
Right.
And anything else you can imagine. And then we partner with the majority schools.
Right.
Okay, so when I was at Southern Law, I also went to LSU, Louisiana State University. So I saw those people. Now, these are my classmates from 1982 when we all started freshman year.
Oh, wow.
They all were in Detroit. Not all of them, but 2 are from Detroit and 3 from other places. And so people say, I can't find a job. Well, these people are not even from Detroit and have jobs in Detroit.
Wow.
You have to qualify. You have to prepare. And it's exciting, and it's not so much of a, what do you say? It's not a sacrifice like you think, but you must, like you were saying, you have to sit down.
Right.
You don't need a mansion. You don't need a Rolls Royce. You don't need any of these things. What you need is a chair, a light, pen and paper, and table, and all of you sit down. See, East Indians in their culture, they have all members of the family drill the kids
That's right.
on all the work every day.
That's right.
Now, that puts them at an advantage. You're not at a disadvantage. They're just at an advantage.
Right.
You just got to decide to put in the work,
Absolutely.
and you can do it.
Right.
You got another one, Miss?
And the thing is, too, in our culture, like you said earlier, our parents had to work so hard just to live. That
Yes.
means to keep heat and lights on, to feed us more than just, nothing. We had to
Right.
have a protein. We had to have
Right.
vegetables. I don't want to name and give anybody any, props, but our parents worked so hard. But however, in some families, we had the grandparents
Yes.
that lived with us
Yes.
in the home, and they did read to us.
Right.
Now, why come forward? We didn't keep that culture. I don't know, but our grandparents loved us so much that they wanted to see us do better. So they did read to us, even though sometimes they didn't know themselves how important it was, but it really is. And I've traveled everywhere a lot, and I sent my kids traveling, and then I was able to get my grandson sponsored, and he went to Africa. And he saw, like you said, different cultures treated the children differently so that they could succeed. But the
Right.
kids listen. Today,
Absolutely.
I don't know, and I'm an educator. I'm from education.
Sure.
I taught for 28 years.
Yes.
And it comes from the family, like you said. The family has to wrap around the people that they belong to and say, look, this is what's important. This is what's important, because guess what? Once you're educated, and I love black colleges because they love you when you come to their campus and they make sure you graduate. They do that. But you can't lose this. Once you have it, you have it.
Right.
You can lose your Rolls Royce. Your house can burn down like you see in California. The mansions you saw in Florida, the people, their mansions gone. You're like, oh my God, what to do? But now we're back to you.
Yeah, oh, hey, I was in seventh heaven. So they changed. Now, this is a picture of Frida. She was a great artist of Mexican descent. And people don't know that Mexico was free of slavery at some point. And the rich people of Louisiana, specifically New Orleans, funded the Texas Revolution to bring and expand slavery to the Mexican lands that we call Texas.
Ooh,
And so they have a thought about slavery that black people still have. We still haven't shook the trauma. We're celebrating the Alamo, and the Alamo was to keep us enslaved.
slave, that's right.
Okay, and so what
That's
I'm saying,
right.
so Frida was, much after that, but her husband's murals are in the Detroit Institute of Arts.
Yeah.
Okay, Rivera, and what I liked about her is she was in accidents, she suffered from disease, abuse, and she kept on coming, and she taught herself how to paint while in the hospitals, emulating her husband. She never surrendered, and she was the icon of the woman's suffrage.
Right.
Okay, so that's something I did. Now, I'm self-taught. When I said I took a class at Dillard, that was it. However, in New Orleans, they have like 100 years of free black communities, 100 years older than ours in the rest of the United States. I
Right.
mean, you have pockets of free black people, but they had a considerable amount because they came from Haiti, et cetera. And then there's a lot of Jewish liberal slave owners, if you can imagine that. You could buy your freedom. So these people could buy freedom and then undertake the arts and go off to different schools, Scotland and different places.
Right.
And then they come back in France, and they come back and they had such a exacting will to educate.
Yes.
Now, you might not have it, a coat on your back, but you have a degree or at least know how to read and write.
Right.
Those ministers were a little different then because they looked at reading like Jewish people looked at reading. They're 100% literate.
Right.
So you say, well, let's compare ourselves. You can't.
You cannot.
We were fabulous with labor. The law said you couldn't teach us, so we had to overcome that and get over the trauma of people saying, we're not going to fund your schools. You don't need to be at school. You need to be
Right.
at work. You need to be in the fields. You're lazy. Just because we don't pay you anything doesn't mean you shouldn't work until you pass out.
Right.
So we're coming into literacy because we need to raise those numbers.
That's
Because
right.
we're only like 8-9% college educated. We also got to get into those vocations. They took the vocations out of the schools because they didn't want us competing with them.
Correct.
So, but vocations require, like you said earlier, a deep understanding of mathematics, a deep understanding of design and illustration and different things to have it communicate not only to you, but to be able to translate it into action. So drugs and alcohol, you know, those are things that they want you to have. The party store is there, but the art store is not.
Right.
Okay, so I'm just saying, to be an artist is a privilege through all of mankind's time, because you're supposed to be at the grind. So not that art is without effort and work and dedication and diligence and resources. Okay, so now what we got up now, well. Okay, so anyways, we got one getting ready to come up on in the queue right now.
Right. So what I'm going to say,
Yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
you're not formally taught, like, say, regular artists.
Right.
But how I would teach my students, there's a difference between a student and a scholar. You would be a scholar because scholars are self-taught. And scholars always strive for perfection and hunger for more knowledge, and they keep on. So yours is with the art, and you keep on till you perfect it. You keep on till you create something that's a message and meaningful for us, should be, when we see it, and that you're sharing it with the world, almost kind of telling a history. You know, so you are doing scholarly work.
Well, and listen, I've had a number of. You ready? You ready to switch over? Okay. So now, okay, you said something about Africa, right?
Yes.
Well, I think of like if I asked you what was the name of the Americas before the discovery of Columbus, what would you call it? Right? We call it pre-Columbus. We're still in the mindset of our oppressor at the time,
Right.
And we don't know whether or not we were both African and people of this place. So you got the Mississippi Indians, the Illinois Indians, you had the Iroquois. What did they call this place before being confronted with people with hostilities of guns and diseases and alcohol?
Takeover.
So this is a throwback to an ancestor I don't know. Right? This is a throwback to an ancestor who may have hunted, who may have planted crops, who may have saved the original pilgrims from disaster. Right? There's so many different stories. My sister worked on she worked for the nations, Indian nations in Arizona, and she was a dentist.
Okay.
So she would go down into the Grand Canyon and deal with the different Indians at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, where you're forbidden to go.
Right. Exactly.
Right? So these people have stories that you've never heard of.
Right.
You go up north, upper Michigan somewhere, you'll see other tribes there you don't know nothing about.
Right.
Canada, nothing about.
Right.
And so this is that kind of effigy of those persons.
Right.
That could be very well us too,
Right. Our ancestors.
our ancestors. All right, so we're going to transition into African art. This is something that we're going to make available at Debo's on Sunday.
And Debo's is located.
It's in Southfield, 12 Mile. It's on Northwestern Highway, just south of 12 Mile.
Okay.
And it's some guys, some young brothers who got together and ponied up some investment and got it going. It's a franchise out of Memphis. So they have a delicious brunch on Sunday, and this is when we'll have that available.
Okay, so talk
to
about
the people, right?
first piece.
So the first piece is a xylophone playing African person. Now I just want you to look at the muscles that go into moving those sticks where his foot. Just look at the balance of this piece. Now, you say, well, you didn't get educated to become an artist. I don't think this person was, but I think it's the innate decision to replicate what you see and experience.
Right.
Right? And so this would say to a young African American male or female, you know, you don't have to have something electrified to make a sound. You don't have to have Dr. Dre beats on to enjoy and experience music.
Right.
And so music and fine arts and the visual arts, they all run together.
They do.
They all run together. So this is some kind of wood, right? And I would say this is probably like a $600 piece, $500-something piece.
Easy.
Right? But it made this transition across the same ocean that a lot of us didn't,
Right.
right? So it's here to remind you who you are. You're not Miss Eddie Bauer or Ralph Lauren Polo. This is who you are.
Right.
You're a creator and you're not a consumer, which we're guilty of being here in the
Right.
United States. We're just non-producers because they don't want us producing.
Right.
Okay, so this is a production piece.
Okay, and
So
the second
the
piece.
next one, now obviously these are from different tribes,
Yep.
right? You can just look at their facial features and different things.
Mm-hmm.
We hear about families, mom, dad, daughter, son, uncle, auntie, but multiply that by 1,000, 2,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have a tribe. It's not the Johnsons or the Wilsons.
Right.
You got the Yorubas.
Right.
Right. You got the Igbos. You got
Right.
the people from Benin. There's so many people that you have to leave the community to find somebody,
Right.
find somebody that you can mate with, etc.
Right.
So there's a whole nother idea of family that we just don't get. But anyways, that's a beautiful woman. And then again, another thing is we're not afraid. We've been taught to be body shamed. Buy clothes and hide your nakedness. Well, if you don't have these sick ideas of what the body is,
Right.
you don't have to really be concerned about it.
Not at all.
You know what I mean? But
at
some
all.
kind of way we got this wicketry stuff in our head, and
It was given to us 'cause we
right.
didn't think that way.
All right, so now we're going to move to a photo, another one of my pictures. Okay, now this is King and Stokely Carmichael in my mind. Okay,
Ooh, yeah.
I met Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture in New Orleans at Tulane University.
Tulane.
And he came not to give me handouts or anything or say, hey, look, there's $1 million at the bottom of the aisle. I'm just going to share with you my experience. And it was immeasurable
Yes.
to think that the government was coming after him and his friends for trying to improve his own community.
Right. Our community.
You got me?
Uplift us.
Right?
And the young people. That's
Right.
who they're afraid of.
Now, Martin Luther King was the classmate of my college president. They were best friends, Dr. Cook. That was his best friend, right? What I'm saying is, this was not that long ago. I'm trying to tie some of this
Right.
from their era to my era,
Right.
right? When I drive it through Atlanta and see Andrew Young Highway and all these different superstar civil rights gentlemen,
Right.
how can it be such a dull topic here in Detroit with the young people?
Right.
They know how many kids Snoop Dogg has and all these different
All
rappers.
these people.
Yeah, and I'm like, these are the original rappers.
Yes. Yes.
They brought it,
That's
right? They
right.
shook nations. And so so I thought it was beholden to make this.
Right. To
Right.
share so
To
that
share.
they can indulge and learn
Right.
and have a thirst
Yes.
for this knowledge that they are lacking.
Right. Now, if you look at the other people, they're Caucasians. And I
Right.
love Caucasians just as much as I love black people. But in Mississippi, if they surround you,
You're in trouble.
you better have a thought about something.
That's right.
Okay. And they're in those, like when you go to Mississippi, it's dark because they don't have, first of all, they only have like 3 to 6 million people in the
Okay.
whole state.
In the whole state.
And half of Mississippi is a national park.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah. And so we're about to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So
Go.
we have one last piece to show.
Yeah.
And I believe it's a wood carving. And that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
So that's a man,
And a woman.
woman. It's you have the antelope horns, and then you have the mask. Now, antelopes or cattle, that is a sign of wealth.
Right.
Then
Exactly.
the union of a man and a woman is also a sign of not only unity but power.
Right.
So
In the future. And so, one more time, really quick, where can we find this? Just
this is
before
going to
we
be
go?
at Debo's on Sunday during their brunch, and say 1 to 3, and you can purchase these items. We'll be there. I'll be there.
Is there a phone number?
Well, yeah, you can use my number 313-585-8694. 313-585-8694. And there's many more. I think there's upward of 20 pieces, but we'll have
Wow.
examples of them. And some photographs because we can't bring all of them. Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I'm so glad you were here to share
it's a
your
pleasure.
knowledge with us and your
Yes.
paintings and everything. And so I hope to have you back. And thank you and for enlightening us in Detroit. And we hope to see you soon. We are here. This is the Billy E. Jones Talk Beat Jones show. And I appreciate you, and family, stay safe. And we'll see you soon. And Billy will see you sooner.
Have to go anywhere because this is the Talk Beat Jones.